Good morning, my friends. Today we are doing grammar lesson 8.8 on noun clauses as appositives. I'm hopeful that at this point you are feeling comfortable finding noun clauses in their various positions because finding them as appositives is a little bit more difficult. Not that much more, but a little bit. Let's get started. All right, so you know what a noun clause is at this point. So you need to remember what an appositive is. An appositive is going to follow a noun and it's going to rename it or give more information about it. So these noun clauses, they're going to follow the same rules as all of the noun clauses we've worked with so far. It's going to start with an introductory word like that or whether. And I will tell you right now, a majority of the time, it's going to be that. Okay. Just every once in a while, it's going to be a different word, but especially on your assignment today, almost all of them start with that. So there's a big hint for you. So those noun clauses, they're going to start with that introductory word, going to have a subject and predicate. Also, there's going to be modifiers in there. Don't forget those prepositional phrases that are included in those clauses. Don't forget those adjectives and adverbs. They're going to be in there. And now we get to the hard part. Because it's going to follow a noun in the sentence, that means it can be anywhere in the sentence. Okay? So it makes it a little bit harder to find than the ones that were the subject or the subject complement. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to find that introductory word, and then you're going to need to figure out when to stop. If it's in the beginning of the sentence before the verb, you're going to go from the introductory word to the verb. If it's at the end of the sentence after the verb, you're going to start with the introductory word and go all the way to the end of the sentence. Okay? We'll go over that when we practice a little bit more, but that is the most difficult part. Okay? The other little issue you may have with these is sometimes noun clauses can be confused with subject complements or adjective clauses. Now they're going to check you on this, and I'm going to give you a little hint at the end on how to check and see if it's a noun clause as opposed to an adjective clause. So don't worry too much about that. I'm going to give you a little bit more information later. All right, so let's look at some examples and go over how these noun clauses are used as appositives and how to find them. So our first example, the theme that people have moral responsibilities is important in folk tales. All right, so let's first of all split this sentence into subject and predicate. The subject of this sentence, the theme that people have moral responsibilities, that would be the subject. Is important in folk tales is the predicate. So we would divide that right there. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to find that introductory word. And if you listened a few minutes ago, most of the time for noun clauses as appositives, it's going to be the word that. So do we see a that in there? There it is. Now, because it's in front of the main verb of the sentence, we're going to go from the that all the way to that main verb. So the theme that people have moral responsibilities is important in folk tales. So that people have moral responsibilities is the appositive, giving you more information about the noun theme. See how it follows that noun and it's giving you more information, just like all of the appositives that we've talked about before. All right, let's look at the second one. He maintains the belief that love will conquer all. So step one, let's divide this by subject and predicate. So he maintains the belief. So he, that's the subject, maintains is the main verb. So we're going to divide our sentence right there. He does what? He maintains. So if maintains is our main verb, now let's find that introductory word. Oh, there's that again. So in this case, we're going to start at that and we're going to go to the end of the sentence. So he maintains the belief that love will conquer all. That appositive is giving us more information about the noun belief. So you can see these are a little bit harder to find just because they're going to follow a noun anywhere in the sentence. So the easiest thing to do is find the word that or find one of those other introductory words. And then it's a matter of knowing when to stop. So again, if it is before the main verb, you're going to go from your introductory word to the main verb. If it's after the main verb, you're going to go with that introductory word to the end of the sentence. So let's practice a little bit. In our first example here, it says many leaders have held the belief that people can improve society. So many leaders would be our subject, and the rest would be our predicate. All right. So now we look for our introductory word. You should see that right there. And since it's after the main verb, it's going to go to the end of the sentence. Now, what word is this describing? It's going to be the noun right in front of it. So that people can improve society is renaming the word belief. All right. Next one. The desire that we achieve this goal is expressed in his speech. Well, let's figure out where to divide that. The desire that we achieve this goal would be the subject, is expressed in his speech is the predicate. Now we're looking for that introductory word. There's that. Now, because this is coming in front of the main verb, we're going to go from that to the main verb. So that we achieve this goal is the appositive, and it is describing desire. Next one. The belief that we owed our talents to our country is stated in his address. Where should we divide that by subject and predicate? If you said right there, you are correct. Now let's look for that introductory word. And again, it is that. And because this is in front of the main verb, we're going to go from that to country. So that we owed our talents to our country describes the noun belief. Next one. It was their hope that their words would change people. So let's divide this by subject and predicate. Where should we do that? If you said right there in between it and was, you are correct. Now, our next step is to find that introductory word. Again, it is that. Now, because it is after the main verb, we're going to go from that all the way to the end of the sentence, that their words would change people, and that is describing the noun hope. Our last one, it is a fact that we still remember their words today. How should we divide that by subject and predicate? Right there in between it and is. Now we look for that introductory word, and because we know it's almost always that, we're going to look for that first. If there isn't a that in the sentence, start looking over that list of other introductory words and see if you can find a different one. But in this case, it is that again, and it is after the main verb, so we go to the end of the sentence, that we still remember their words today. That is giving us more information about the noun fact. So, in order to find these, you follow these steps. Make sure you know where that main verb is. Make sure you look for that introductory word, and then use the placement in the sentence to know how far to go. If you hit a verb, you know you need to stop, or you go to the end of the sentence, depending on where it is. Now, let's talk about that little confusing part, that an adjective clause versus a noun clause as an appositive. So what we were just doing were noun clauses working as appositives. Now, if you remember, an adjective clause describes a noun or a pronoun that it follows. Well, that sounds very familiar. That sounds just like what a noun clause is doing when it's being an appositive. But what an appositive does is it's renaming, or it's giving more information. It's not describing. Now, those two things are very, very similar. When I say describing versus giving more information, those seem like synonyms. So has to be a test, and there happens to be, so that you can see if it's a restatement versus describing. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to insert a linking verb is in between the noun and the clause. If you can put an is in that sentence in between the noun and the clause and it still makes sense, that means it's a restatement, which makes it an appositive. If you put that is in there and it doesn't make sense, that makes it an adjective clause. It's not restating the noun, it's giving you a description of the noun. Okay, so here's what I mean by that. In the first example, the sentence, the story that he lost his keys again amused us. We've got a clause in there that he lost his keys again, and we need to know if that is an appositive or if it's an adjective clause. So what we do is we stick is in between story and that. If it makes sense, That makes it a restatement and makes it an appositive. If it doesn't make sense, that means it's an adjective clause. So when I stick is in there, it reads, the story is that he lost his keys again. Amused us. Now, does that make sense? The story is that he lost his keys again. It does make sense. So that is a restatement of what the story is. That makes that in a positive. Now let's look at the second one. The story that he told amused us. If I stick that is in there, the story is that he told. That doesn't make sense. So that is just an adjective clause. Now here is what you need to know about this. On your assignment today, they are going to throw maybe 1, 2, or 3. I think in 7th grade there is 1. I think in 8th grade there might be 3 adjective clauses in your assignment. I'll let you know when I give you your examples and set up the assignment how many you're looking for. If it's an adjective clause, you're going to indicate that it's not an appositive. And on all the rest of them, they're just noun clauses working as appositives. So a majority of your assignment, you're just looking for the noun clause as an appositive. But there are a few sentences where they throw in an adjective clause to see if you're paying attention. So if you're not sure, use this method, stick an is in between that noun and the introductory word, and see if it makes sense. See if it's restating it. If it doesn't make sense, then you know you've found the adjective clause. Okay? I hope this helps you. If you get confused, please, please, please